you said your tequila is kosher. What are other tequila makers doing that's not kosher? Because I mean, there's no. I'm not being a smartass, but there's generally not bacon, so that's the first thing I think of. But I also know when it comes to kosher, like the kitchen or the facility has to be set up in a certain way. And what are you doing or what are other companies not doing that?
Well, with us, we have an actual kosher license at the distillery. So we've been inspected, everything's been checked out. So most of the Blanco, because there's different parts of distilleries, of course, there's different tequilas made in different parts. Our section is kosher. It was made for that reason, so you can do it if you wanted to. At the same time, the way that we use our fruit process, because there's no sugars, no syrup, no starches, it's a kosher process in the slang sense and the real sense, because that's been inspected as well. Like, it's kosher, it's clean, there's nothing added to it. There are no sugars and additives. It's Yave mango with Yave Blanco.
Oh, so you also focus on all natural, nothing artificial as well.
Yeah, because even the flavors. I mean, the mango, boom, has the same jalapeno, which there are other ones out there, but they don't have this.
Nice. And you said you made it 70 proof. How do you lower the proof in a when you make liquor? Just put more water?
Essentially, yeah, it's under proportion. So when the proof, for people to understand, proof is just the alcohol times 2. So when it comes to the Blanco, we're 80 proof, which means it's 40% alcohol in that bottle. And when it's the flavors, it's 35% alcohol in the bottle. So it's just literally more water, more of the yeast, more of everything else. Okay. But it's mostly water that you add to it, less alcohol.
Do you want to tell everybody briefly, so on, what was it, August 22nd, 7th or whatever, 5 years ago, you had this epiphany. But, when we spoke before, you said that, amazingly, you only spent $20,000 to start up a liquor company. Because if I'm not mistaken, the standard to start up a liquor brand is probably, about $500,000. But because you did everything on your own and you did all the legwork, you were able to save a lot of money. So do you want to tell everybody just briefly what you did to start a liquor company?
Yeah, I mean, the moment was August 26, 2015, 7:30 in the morning. And from that point forward, it was just hard work. I didn't come from money. I didn't hit lotto. My dad didn't write me a check. It was just, I'm a single father from New York, and I told my son I was going to do this. So when I woke up that morning, exactly what I did was, I was in Florida with some friends. I was in the middle of consulting for brands, and I woke up and my heart just said, it's time to do your own thing. Didn't have a plan, didn't have everything. I called my son. He was with his grandmother, and I said, hey, what's up? So 7:30 in the morning, most kids don't wake up very happy. He's like, what's up, Dad? And he was 13 at the time. We're talking about it. I'm like, look, I think I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to create my own brand, create a legacy for us. And he's like, what does that mean? So I explained to him, I break it down, and he goes, all right, Dad, this is going to be huge. And I was like, cool. And if it doesn't work out, it'll be your fault. Love you, son. Hung out. I mean, you got to pass it off to somebody, just in case. There's a backup. But then I called my mom and my dad. And single mother raising, my dad was always in my life. So they're very influential in my life. I called my mother, and my mother says, it's about damn time. You have to stop making people rich. And she went this whole, mothers, you can do it. You can reach the top. You'll be the best. I'm all right. Thanks, man. I don't need this much. I got it. Like, thank you. Call my dad, and my dad picks up, and he says, I've been waiting for this call for years. I just knew you wouldn't be forced to do it. You would do it when you were ready. And the reason it's so important, these calls, is because my parents have agreed on 3 things since I was born. One was to get divorced when I was 10. Worked out for everybody. No hard feelings on that one. The second one, when I was leaving my big distributor job to go to a tiny supplier, worked out. And the third was this day. So I said, all right, I got it. And after that, it was just planning mode. We drove up from Florida, and I wrote word clouds. Literally, I still have the papers. There was a bunch of sheets of me just writing what makes sense, what doesn't. I remember scratching things off, not gonna do this, not gonna do rum, where most people think I would because I'm Puerto Rican. That always makes me laugh. So I'm the first Puerto Rican to create tequila. So I'm the most Mexican Puerto Rican and the most Puerto Rican Mexican. Whichever one makes you happy, that's who I am at this moment. And I just kept working, and I literally Googled how to start a liquor brand. I knew most of the things, and when I Googled how to start a tequila brand, it was like, whoa, what the hell is a CRT? And what is this? And what is that? So for 2 years, it was just learning. And of course, the bottle I was working on simultaneously, because one of my best friends is a tattoo artist. If you looked at him, he has tattoos everywhere. Brett, one of my closest friends. People wouldn't give him a shot. They would assume things about him, even though he's extremely talented. He was sitting by me for months, and I would just talk out loud, and I want people to be able to grip the bottle. You can't be too tall for the shelves. It has to be less than a foot. And we would talk and talk. We would go to liquor stores and have like little journeys and field trips and look at this bottle and that bottle. All these are off the list. These are on the list. Let's try to recreate 3 or 4 of them together. And then came one of the harder parts for me was all the paperwork, because I didn't have a lawyer. So I was my own lawyer for the U.S. and Mexico. Thank God I speak Spanish, because that would have been much, much harder. But it was a lot. I mean, I'm talking literally like stacks beyond stacks of, a lot of it is just time consuming. So that's why people hire lawyers. But why would I pay a lawyer $30,000, $40,000 just to do this? I have time now. I fill things out. From the credit checks to the background checks to where am I getting tequila, where I got the money from. It was a lot of proving that, you know, you're a functioning human being who's not robbing from society, as well as, you know, this is who I am and this is my concept. And that took the longest time. And that along with creating the actual product with the master distiller, that was the most time consuming. But in my heart, I knew at some point I'd be here talking to you and meeting people and building the product. But it was a lot more work than I expected. It wasn't hard, I'll be honest. It was just a lot. I never sat there and said, this isn't gonna work, this is too much. I've always been a hard worker, but for other people. So now I just kind of put it on myself. And then after a couple of years, I mean, we had a product. And before that happened, I mean, a story I'd be remiss not to tell you is, when everything was flowing very well, I felt like we could speed it up somehow. I didn't know how. Again, when I feel something, I just feel it. I can't explain it to you, I'm just right. Follow my lead, and if it doesn't work, at least we know. We won't live in regret. And on my birthday, about a year later, I told everyone I'm going to stop drinking. I'm going to stop drinking and no dating. Drinking was the easy part to do because, of course, you know, I was a single guy in the city, so it was easy to give up drinking. But focused, and for 10 months, I pretty much was home. I didn't do anything. I was home working, round the clock, making breakfast for my son in the morning. He'd go to school, I'd go back to work, he'd come home, dinner, back to work, just kept going. And the reason that was so important is because after that 10-month hiatus, the first drink I took of anything was Yave Tequila down in Mexico with my team, with the master distiller, the first bottle we ever created. So I earned that drink. It was like, that was the first time my passport got stamped. I never traveled outside of the U.S. You know, I had a passport stamped. I'm with my close friends who I brought with me so they could experience it with me. And when we came back, we could talk about Yave. But to be sitting there with my team and my friend Paul, good guy, he runs New York for us, part of the team. Paul looked at me, he calls me the Wolf of Liquor. And he says, Wolf, how does it feel? I said, there's no words. I said it, we did it, and we're here now. Now we have to keep climbing. And it was probably the happiest I ever was drinking, because I'm not a big drinker, but again, celebratory. And when I drank that, it was just, holy shit, like we're here. Like this is us.
Nice.
And in the moment, this is no more talking about the product. We passed the test, we've done what we have to do. Of course, there was a long road ahead, but I try to enjoy the journey as much as possible. And that was one of my favorite moments that just made me sit back and say, wow, you're doing it. Like, this is pretty cool.
That's awesome,
and then I will say, beyond that, I mentioned earlier, the team is the most important thing by far. Like, if I didn't have the team that I have, I would just be a guy sitting here talking about this amazing tequila that you've never tried and you can't access. And I'm still working on getting distribution and everything. But I mean, I have a monster team behind me, from my first investor, Danny, my first friend who came over one day while I was in this midst of just working. We spoke about everything. He said, I want to write a check. And I'm like, cool. Like, I'm always gonna need more money. I'd rather do friends and family first. He writes a check. We're talking about it. He's happy. He leaves. And I'm like Seinfeld in my hood. I always leave the door open. So it's like, you know, people come in when they want. And Danny came back and he opens the door crack. And he says, we don't look at brands, man. We close it. I'm like, yeah. I mean, it's pretty cool. And I went back to work. But it's moments like that, of course, my friend Bread, Jason, AKA Bread, we call him Bread, who made the first bottle, Paul, who runs New York for us, my executive board, who's became family to me, from Ben, who's our managing director, who lets me do things like this and work the streets, because as much as you see the word founder, I'm a salesman at heart. So I like to be out and sell. You have Scott, who runs our financials and our legal, who handles all that back-end stuff that you'll never see. And the newly acquired legend, Joe Lahane, who went from running Diageo North America, you know, all the distribution channels, to coming on board and taught me exponentially a lot more about how the industry works. Because I was on the supplier side, but not at that level. I was a small guy. And he went from the top dogs to now we're spanning throughout the Northeast. We're in New York City, New York State, which are 2 different markets. We're in New Jersey, we're in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut. We're in Colorado, you know, we're small distributors, so I want to give a chance. And it was Joe Lahane who kind of led us and said, hey, just follow my lead, trust me. I have no ego, so I said, let's do it. If it doesn't work, then we'll try something else. And it's worked. I mean, it went from, at this point, I mean, we're talking a couple months into 2021, we've almost sold, we've sold over half what we sold last year.
Wow.
Yeah, it's nuts. I saw the numbers a week ago, and I'm like, wow, this is serious.
What? So the gentleman Joe, he worked for Diageo on a national level, right?
Oh no, he was he ran pretty much the U.S. for the most part. He ran all the distributor relations. So he was the one that was dealing with distributors and going in and saying, hey, we need these numbers and let's focus on this product and this brand. So when he came to us, it was just one brand. It was Yave Tequila. But he's had the relationships over time, and his integrity is unmatched. I mean, I like to surround myself with good people, but when we have these distributor calls and distributor meetings, they're happy that he's in the room. They're genuinely glowing, like, hey, Joe's back. And, you know, he's JL, I'm JC, because, you know, two Joes in the room. But it's the relationship that I built over time. He has the same kind, but on a higher level. And that same genuine back and forth, the same genuine reciprocity, where it's like, hey, I've got your back, you've got mine.
Right.
He built that with his equity, his personal equity. When we walk in with Yave, he tells people, I don't want any favors. Joe's gonna pitch it, and they're always like, I mean, his heart's all in it. It's not gonna fail. You guys thought of everything. This is a successful brand, but because of his access and because of what he's built in his legacy, he can open the door, pun intended. I mean, he has the key to get in essentially, and we come in and they give us a shot, and it goes from, you know, it's never a favor, but it goes from, you know, we'll support JL to this is a brand we can build. And then they give us a shot, and every single market has just risen dramatically. It's extremely humbling to have a guy like that in my corner.
So I was always curious about, you know, because I work in promotions, that's what we do. But, you know, then the other side is the distributors and the importers. I'm just curious because I've always, you know, because I've been learning more about the distributor side just because it's better to know, you know, to learn more about the business. When you were in that and you were trying to get a new customer, like maybe a Kroger or maybe a liquor store to carry your products, what was your general approach? I mean, because, you know, cold calls don't always work, but they can, you know, or, hey, you know, I'm Joe, I've got this vodka or whatever. What was your general approach to getting new clients?
Well, with that, it was the same as what I do now. Like we've gotten a few major accounts throughout the states. We've gotten a couple chains that have come on board. It goes back to selling yourself. Like, yeah. I go into the meeting and if I have a half hour, an hour to talk to them, they actually lead the conversation where we're talking about ourselves and talking about life for 5 to 10 minutes. And by then they decided, all right, I like this guy. Let me give him a shot. Yeah. And what I've encountered from day one was everybody loved me. They loved the team. They loved the story. They loved the package. But if it tastes like crap, nobody's going to care. So right. By the time we went through the presentation, they were in. And it was on me to ruin it with a horrible liquid. Obviously, it isn't. But 9 times out of 10, maybe 10 times, I don't remember a time I didn't get this, but people would try and say, this is actually really good. I was hoping it would be because I was rooting for you. And it's like, yeah, you like the product. And then that's how we get the sale. But it's kind of just being me. It's not any secrets. I can talk Yave in my sleep. I can talk in English and Spanish. I can talk in Ebonics. You pick something, I can speak Yave to any crowd. And again, when I walk in, it's not just, hey, you know, I'm here from Yave. Here's my board, and here's the pitch, and here's... Nobody wants that. The biggest offense that I had as a salesman, the thing that would upset me the most and turn me off, was when a brand would walk in, put up a screen, and literally read everything off of the screen to me, like I was in class. Yeah. You can email me this. There's no emotion. It's just, you know, Yave Tequila was made, and you don't feel anything. When I walk in, I want to meet the person the same way they want to meet me. I want to meet you. Relationship building. Because I want them to remember me when I leave, not just Yave. Just like, I like that. I like the way he made me feel. He was a good person, and I feel the same about you. It helps business dramatically. Too many people focus on just the product. Maybe they're not confident in themselves. Maybe they don't have that, you know, that demeanor. Everyone's different. But for me, again, it's sell yourself before you sell the brand, and just be you.
What do you, out of all of your experience, you know, you own a liquor brand, you've worked on all 3 tiers. You know, you've been a bartender, you've worked in a liquor store, you've worked in distributing with importers. When it comes to branding, what is it you think the most successful companies, what is it you think the companies that are the most successful at branding all have in common?
It makes you feel something. I'm big on that. Like when I hear something or I see something, it makes me feel something. And the only brand I'll talk about today is because JL talks about it a lot. He feels that we have one of the best taglines in the industry, unlock possibility. Meaning you can unlock your own possibility. I unlocked my own possibility. This was possible, I unlocked it. You know, it became a thing for me. It was something I could do. But the favorite that we have outside of ours is Keep Walking from Johnny Walker. It can apply to anybody. You can be Spanish from the hood. You could be Asian out in the hills of China. You could be a white kid in Kentucky. Keep walking. I mean, no matter what you go through, you keep walking. I think that makes you feel something. I like that a lot. And it's real. I don't know who came up with it, why they came up with it, but I think as long as you can make people feel something, like some of these celebrities that come out with brands, I don't identify with at all. There's nothing that can get me there. You may have started off rich, you may have money. Some of the brands I learned, they're funded very well. From $100 million or whatever they're given, I feel nothing about that. For my personal brand, the personal progress. I mean, this started from here. I didn't have a name. I just said I'm going to make my own brand, and it was the personal progression of myself. So if you could make people feel some kind of connection, or just feel something, just even if they just smile and say, "Hey, that's cool. I don't connect, but I like that story. I like that branding. I like that color." Whatever it is, you have to invoke emotion in some capacity. And a lot of, like you said, a lot of people go by the book and say, "Oh, you have to do this and do that." There is no book for us. I just went. I did everything from the heart. I'm a Puerto Rican kid from Harlem. I did everything that I felt was right with no regrets, and I mean, we're here now. You have to make people feel something. Whatever it is, they have to feel something when they see your brand.
Yeah, I've one of the things I've learned is, you know, I was a chef for 27 years, and now for the past 9 years I've been basically a salesman. So I've had to kind of switch gears mentally, you know. And in the beginning it was like, "Hey, do you want to try this?" Which is wrong, and that's not who I am. But I didn't really, you know, I'm learning, you know. But I learned that, you know, when people don't buy a product, they buy how you made them feel.
100%.
And
I'm a big proponent of that. Like, I agree 100%. Like, even now I'm doing a lot of Zoom calls because I can't go to every single market. But whether it's the Massachusetts with Martignetti, it's the Mancini crew in Rhode Island, you know, all those guys, Harding Park in Connecticut, Allied, New Jersey, Empire, New York. My guys Watson in Colorado. As long as, you know, you can make them feel something through the screen, which is even harder than in person. Yeah. But I talk to them with the same passion I talk to my son, I talk to people in the street. It's the same guy all the time. And every single meeting we have, I tell them, "Here's my phone number, here's my email." For you guys, not the bosses, they know me already. Here's the salesman. And I get at least a quarter of them right after the meeting say, "Hey man, that was amazing. I want to sell your brand, I'm rooting for you. You were one of us." I really was. This is a real story. But they felt something. And I don't do it, you know, I'm not trying to placate them. I'm just being me. And there may be people that say, "He's too animated. He's too much." I don't want that. Cool. I'm not going to be offended. But throughout time, I've spoken to at least, at the minimum, I'm talking about even on a Sunday, I talk to 10 salesmen a day who reach out to say, "Hey, I have a question about this. Hey, I have this big account. Can you do a Zoom video call? Can you do a FaceTime call and pitch them?" Yeah, I'm there for you. So because they feel something in a connection to the brand, it helps us. Because, I mean, we don't have the biggest budgets. We don't have the biggest team yet. But nobody's gonna outwork me. That's not a thing. I can control that. Like, that's within my realm. That's like really, I told my son, my son's going to college now. I dropped him off about a month ago. Yeah, Ithaca College. I mean, this kid's amazing. Got a full academic scholarship, which helped me dramatically, of course. But the last thing I told him, which is something I told him every day, was there's always a reason not to do something, and most people find it. Don't be most people. Yeah. And he's like, yeah. And then when I left, he called me, and I said, "I got another quote for you. I'm going to hit you with everything I have today, son." And he laughs. He says, "Yeah, Dad, what's up?" I said, "I can't control COVID. I can't control the weather, but I can control how hard I work, how I treat people, and what I do with my time." And those are things that I value, and that's what I put into Yave. I mean, it's really no secret. But
when you think of the guy who works his butt off and creates it from the ground up, you know what it reminds me of a little bit? That movie in 2005 with Russell Crowe, Cinderella Man. He was the boxer. And he was just fighting to pay, you know, to get milk for his kids. And everybody resonated with that. And that was actually based on a true story. It wasn't, you know, but even if it wasn't a true story, not idea, but that type of thing it holds water. So
it's funny you say that, because the first meeting we had with the distributor was my old home Empire. You know, a few years later, I'm back. 10 years later, I'm back saying, "Hey man, like, let me pitch Yave." You know, John Devin, who recently left, but he's our guy. I pitch, we talk, we say everything, and at the end of everything, you look at Joe Lahane and he said, "This is more than I expected. Like, I knew you guys thought it out, but this is well thought out." And then he looked at me and he said, "I'm always going to bet on the guy that bet on himself." He said, you went all in, and if you don't think you're gonna fail, why would I think you're gonna fail? And right there, he was like, of course we're gonna take you on. But it was just good to hear that, because it's who I am. Like, I'm not gonna be out fought, I'm not gonna be out thought, I'm not gonna be any of that. And the Cinderella Man thing was so important that you said, because in the beginning, when people were investing, the first time I started presenting investors, they would say, why should I do this? All these brands coming out. And I said, simple, because those guys are building a brand, having a notch in the belt to buy a bigger house or to show off to girls. I'm doing it to feed my son. I'm not gonna fail. And people were like, yeah, and I meant it. Like, I put everything we had into it. I'm not gonna let this fail. I don't have a choice.
Yeah, true. Well, plus sometimes when you're in that position, when you have no choice, it's like, well, you know.
Yeah.
Like my friend who moved to London when he was like 18, he had no money. He said, I put myself in that position because I had to.
Sometimes you have to jump off the cliff and build a plane on the way down. That's what I did. Like,
that's true.
You don't figure it out, you're gonna die. You're gonna fail, and that wasn't an option for us. It just
absolutely. Well, now before I let you go, is there anything that I didn't cover that because I obviously want you to get something out of this? Is there anything I didn't cover that you want to cover?
I mean, the simplest things, like follow us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, the website, Yave Tequila. It's all the same, Y-A-V-E Tequila. And we now ship to 33 states. So if somebody's watching this and says, how do I get it? We ship to most of the country, which is pretty damn cool, including Texas. Which is the first time I found a company that could find a way. But if somebody wants it, they can actually try it now.
I'm gonna order some.
Yeah, and it's free shipping. It's a game changer. Like, our Blanco's amazing, but if you're a flavored person, the mango jalapeno will get you. Mango, of course, the game changer. But we have something for everyone. And the first couple of years, we sold everything ourselves. Like, I had no distribution. It was 2 years of old school backpacking and car selling. And we had a Blanco Reposado Añejo, mango coconut jalapeno. We pulled back and only had 3 for distributors. Reposado's coming back in the next couple of months. And then coconut's coming back, and then Añejo. So everything will be back, but it's the 3 that we have right now: Blanco, mango, jalapeno, followed by Repo, then Coco. And as demand starts to come in, we're gonna come back with all 6.
Hey, Joe, thank you so much for your time, man. I really appreciate it. It's great talking to you, and I wish you even more success, more gold medals, and more awards for Yave Tequila. And look, man, thank you again. All the best.
Of course, man. Have a great one, man. I'll talk to you soon.
You too. Take care, man. Bye-bye.